In your book, you define the millennials as a civic generation and the boomers as an idealist generation. Explain those terms, because I think they're sort of confusing. They were confusing to me.
Well, a civic generation is a generation that, as a result of its rearing and upbringing, is a generation that tends to be positive, optimistic, and what this means in a political sense is it tends to work for the benefit of the group. It tends to build governmental and societal institutions rather than weakening them and tearing them down, and it tends to be a problem-solving kind of generation. An idealist generation, by contrast, is a generation that is driven by its own strongly felt internal, personal, moral, and ideological beliefs, and those generations, idealist generations, try to impress those values on the political process, and as a result tends to be non-compromising, because you can't compromise those basic values, and it usually results in a politics of gridlock and of more attacks across party lines.
So you're defining the boomers as an idealist generation, but then you also call the boomers a divided generation. So they don't all have the same ideals.
No,
they're an idealist generation, but they're all across the spectrum.
They're an ideologically driven generation of dreamers who see the world as it ought to be, and get very frustrated at the fact that it is not. And that's all to their credit. However, as Mike said, their operational fulcrum, their turning point for what to do with politics, is to enforce those moral values, however they hold them, upon the rest of the country through political process. Political process is not set up to accomplish that very well, if at all, and that's why we've had that kind of gridlock. The civic generation is, however, a generation of builders and doers, and they won't stand for people who aren't ready to put their shoulder to the wheel and get something done.